Assalamualaikum. I am Aiza. I'm a part of Afsana. It's a non-profit organization that used to work on women education, but currently we're trying to revamp it and broaden our vision and incorporate women empowerment into it. And on the topic of women empowerment, we have an amazing personality with us. He's a Pakistani author and whose works, I believe, perfectly align with our mission. Thank you so much, Mr. Awais, for joining us and providing us with your valuable time.
Hi, Isa. Thank you so much for having me today. And such an honor to be talking about such an important topic as women empowerment. And I'm very grateful and very glad that you gave me this chance. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Awais Khan. I am an award-winning author published in the UK and in other countries as well. I am the author of No Honor and In the Company of Strangers, and my third book is called Someone Like Her. It's coming out in August 2023. And in addition to that, I also run the Writing Institute, where I teach creative writing courses to aspiring writers all over the world. And I regularly appear on television and radio. I've been on the BBC and The Voice of America, Dubai Eye, among other channels. And I've also been a judge for various international creative writing uh, prizes like the Cheshire Novel Prize and the Will Crime Simru Prize. And I do lectures in universities abroad, in Pakistan, in schools. So, yes, so a lot to do with writing. So that's a little bit about me. And thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I have been following your work. It's safe to say I'm a big fan of yours. And I have seen that you write really bold and really very strong female protagonists. So even in the recent book, No Honor, the character of Abida personally enthralled me very much because all of the hardships and what women have to face in Pakistani society, still she came out to be as strong as a woman can. So, what inspired you to write that character, and what inspires you to write about female protagonists like that?
Well, that's a good question. So I'll start with the first one. So where did Abda come from? So basically, my mother's from Multan, so I've had the occasion to travel to Multan a lot in my life. So it was there that I, not in Multan itself, but obviously the people from the village, rural areas around Multan. So I heard stories about honor killings and all of that. So that's where the idea came from, and then I decided to do some research. So no honor, I mean, what you see today is it's a book. So, but it's been years, and I spent years of research on it. So what I did was that I started doing research. I actually went to those areas and I sort of, when in Pakistan, the thing is that nobody will talk to you if you just go up to a certain place and ask them questions. They'll never talk to you. But if you have a common connection, then people will talk to you. So I looked for common connections and then I used that to get introduced to these people. And that's where I learned how bad things were in rural Pakistan, and that these kind of uh, diabolical practices were still going on. So that's where Abda came from. And the reason I write about women, my characters are strong women, is that I feel that it's much needed in Pakistan. And there's a certain image of Pakistan that's portrayed in the West, and a lot of people in the West don't even believe that Pakistan has cities like Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad. They believe that these are just lawless areas, violent places, and that's the image that they have. And the image that they have about women in Pakistan is even worse. It's like they all they do is cover in fear, which is true. Yes, there is a lot of atrocities being committed against women, but there is also strength, and I think women possess a lot of strength, and we've seen that in recent years. And with the Aurat March and everything, which is all these movements that have sprung up, so we can see that women are strong in Pakistan as well. So I wanted to show a little bit of that strength. So yeah.
That's really insightful. Actually, that's really insightful. So, you have been writing about the issues that are present in our Pakistani society. I have
Yeah.
read it. Most of them are terrorism, honor killings, and stuff like that. Except from other than these issues, what do you think that women today, women in our age right now, are facing significant issues? Which do you think are those issues?
Well, I think if you set these things aside, I think it's both men and women that are facing a lot of issues in modern Pakistan. I think the primary issue is to do with marriage. I think, and there's a lot of pressure uh, for both men and women to conform to a certain idea of marriage and to marry the kind of person their parents want them to marry. So I think that's one of the biggest pressures that exist in young people in Pakistan. But then there's also the pressure of whether or not to work. So a lot of women are now working, which is very good. But obviously there is that certain pressure in smaller cities of Pakistan. And yeah, I mean, if you sit and think about it, I think there are a lot of issues, a lot of things that young people in Pakistan struggle with. If, and that's what I tell when I'm in the UK or anywhere else. I say that yes, it's life is hard for everyone. Life is never easy for anyone. Life will always be hard. But I'm like, but if you're from Pakistan, just multiply those hardships by 100. That's what Pakistan is. And then it's not just about things like marriage. I mean, Pakistan is going through such a tough economic crisis. That is the biggest issue of all. I think the fact that the basic survival of people, and these days people are struggling to get jobs, people are struggling to make ends meet. So I think that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing. You are very young, but I'd say the younger, I wouldn't call myself very young, but I'd say this marginally younger. So yeah. So yeah.
That's exactly. It's right. The marriage issue is for both genders, actually. So,
Yes.
being on this topic, how do you think, being on this topic, that people are forced into marriages or forced into doing things they do not want to do, especially women? I feel like men somehow do some rebellion, but women can't. So, how do you think that we can make it easy for women so their voices are heard or their perspectives are taken into account, actually?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Things are always more challenging for women in Pakistan. That goes without saying. I think um, that is something that a woman would be able to answer better as to what they can do to. Um, but I think my advice to anyone would be that never give in if due to pressure, because what happens is that in that moment you're conforming to that certain requirement and certain expectations. But what happens is that realize it later on that what you did is something that your mind doesn't go with. And then when you realize that, then you realize that in order to get out of that situation, then most people are just stuck for life in those situations. So I think above all, it's an individual's happiness that matters. It's not about their parents' happiness, it's not about the family's happiness. If an certain individual is happy in a certain situation, then it's their happiness that matters, I think, and nothing else should matter. So I think that whenever such a situation arises, it's very important to put your foot down if that's what you want. So yeah.
As you said, that these are some issues that women would be more better at understanding and telling you. So, the characters you have written, actually, when I first read the character of Avda, I was really amazed at how a man can explain such emotions really perfectly that you did. Which led me to think, did you have any real life example in front of you, or any woman that you encountered to be that strong, or you had some connection with that you could feel and actually write? Because I do not I never thought a man would write a character, strong female character like that, and explain all the emotions so so amazingly. So did you have a real life
Well,
example or something?
I get this a lot. You see, this question, this comment. So a lot of people are like, how are you able to write these compelling female characters? This is something that I discussed with my agent as well when I was writing, when I was starting to write Honor. I was like, I am not. I was like, I don't think I'm the right person to tell this story because I'm a man and I'm writing about such a difficult issue like honor killing. So how will I ever do justice to something like this? And my agent was like, given what you've written in the first three chapters, I think you can do justice. And if you won't, then who will? I mean, if you're writing about this issue, it's an issue that does not get a lot of press anyway. And she was like, if you any writer, I mean, she was like, if you possess those skills, then why not? And I think while this wasn't really based on any certain person I know or anything, but you see, being a writer is to be an observer at the end of the day. So you do observe a lot. So you observe strong females in the family, you observe strong females at work, strong women that you know otherwise or on television or anything, and all of that is inspiration for you. But I think it's deep down, I think it's our duty as writers to talk about these issues and do whatever we can to alleviate these problems that have sprung up in Pakistan. And I think that I just did my duty as a writer, and I tried to do my best job. And I'm so glad that you think that it was convincing enough. Yeah.
It was really amazing. You did an absolutely amazing job, sir. And I'm not just saying because I'm a hardcore fan of yours, it's true. I was amazed to see all the emotions.
Well,
My eyes were full of tears when I was reading the
well,
book.
I'll say one thing, Aiza. If I have, let's say, 1 million fans like you, then I can safely retire with my millions and millions of dollars.
You will, sir, you will, inshallah, because it was really beautiful. It was painfully beautiful.
Yeah,
It was really
that is
beautiful.
true. I think there is some I mean, sometimes pain is important, and it's very important to um uh you know uh, this is something that I really focus on when I'm writing, that sometimes it is important to show what the reality is, even if it infuriates people, even if it upsets them. So sometimes it is very important to bring them face to face with what's the reality in Pakistan.
And I felt this way about In the Company of Strangers because you
Yeah.
tackle such bold topics really, and I was like, hey, you must have gotten a lot of criticism for it.
Yeah, I did actually. You see, I feel that in Pakistan especially, there's a very important distinction. You see that what are an author's personal feelings and beliefs, and what are the character's feelings and beliefs. So it's very important not to mix the two, unless if you're writing non-fiction or a memoir or something. Then obviously it's your thoughts. But what a character is saying is not a reflection of what an author thinks. Maybe the author is writing these characters out of a sense of disgust because of what exists in our society. So that doesn't mean that the author thinks that way. So I think if you know that, if you have that distinction in mind, then it's very easy to um, sort of read these books and not jump to any conclusions or anything. So yeah, you're right that it is sometimes difficult, and it is sometimes a lot. You will get criticism for it, you will get called out for it. But the problem is that if you will not tell the truth, then why are you even writing about issues in Pakistan? If you're just gonna uh, just out of fear of backlash, if you're just gonna brush everything under the rug, then why on earth would you even want to write about these issues? So that's what I felt in the end, and that's what my agent feels as well, and my publishers and everyone, that if we're just going to brush these important issues under the rug, then why bother writing about them anyway? So if it infuriates people, if it offends people, then they do need to look around them, because these things exist. Misogyny and all of these shaming, all of these things, they really do exist in Pakistan, because Pakistan is a patriarchal society, and unfortunately these things exist. And if we don't talk about them, then how will we end them? So yeah.
As you said, Pakistan is a patriarchal society, but
Yeah.
your character Zameen from No Honor, it was a beautiful character because you presented him as a father who prioritized love over honor. He stood by
Yeah.
his daughter no matter how many mistakes she made. So, on the topic of that, since you wrote that character, what do you think that men should do to be aliases in the women empowerment? How can
Yeah.
we encourage men to be like what you wrote, like the character of Sunil? How can we encourage them to be aggressive?
Yeah, so you see, again, with the character of Jamil, that was a very important thing I wanted to do, because I wanted to break stereotypes. Yes, there are a lot of men in Pakistan, most men that will sort of stop their daughters, or will probably not rise in support of their daughters. But I wanted to break that stereotype and show that men like Jamil also exist. And I think that's what men can do. Or what they can do is that they can lend their support, and they can use whatever influence they have to amplify the voices of women. And that way I think it's going to be this scourge of misogyny and all of that exists in Pakistan, that will die down faster if men also lend their voices. And I think that some men are starting to do that, and which is very nice to see. And I think that this is how we will achieve a society that is equal for both men and women, which is very important.
That's good. And what is exactly the role of technology in it? since you can say that the age that our modern age, people are away from the literature. Not many people read books. Most of them are on social media or they prefer seasons or movies or like that. So do you think that technology can bring about a change if we use it into the right direction?
Well, of course. I mean, look at social media. That's technology, isn't it? And I mean, it has both good things and bad things about it. The good thing about social media is that it can amplify certain issues and certain struggles. But the bad thing about social media is that sometimes a lot of people, there are a lot of like what happened with the cyclone just now, Joy. There were people who were posting images and videos from hurricanes in America and saying that this is Karachi, which I think is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to do because it can create panic and and all of that among people. So I think some people do use it irresponsibly, but for the most part, I think social media can be used to amplify voices and struggles, which is part of technology. And today I think with the Kindle and everything, so people can read on their phones and Kindles as well, which is again technology. But in Pakistan, the problem is that a lot of people, I think we need to change our mindset about books, and the fact that we have to learn that we need to pay for books in order to read them. A lot of people want them for free, or they want to buy pirated editions that are for 100 rupees in the market or something like that. I think it's very important to understand that the person who's written the book has spent years doing it. So, will you ever do the same thing in a restaurant? Go and have food and then tell them that we don't want to pay the bill? No, right? So it's the same for books, any form of entertainment. So it's the same.
You actually changed my perspective over it. The pirated book version. When I was little, you don't get a lot of pocket money back then, and
Yeah,
since okay, the original books are really expensive here. Like
yeah.
they're above 2,000 or so I used to buy pirated books back then. But then I heard you and I listened to it. I was like, something in me opened up, my conscious was open. I was like, no, I'm not gonna buy
Well,
pirated books anymore. I'm just gonna go
well,
for the original.
no, you're very kind, Aiza, and a lot of people, I do understand that as students and as even when we're doing jobs or stuff, we don't earn that much that we can, spend on 10 books worth 20,000 or whatever. But I think it's very important that at least for Pakistani authors, that when you're buying a book by a Pakistani author, at least that could be an original, because just to support your local authors. But obviously, I understand, and I feel that this is where libraries can play a very good part, a very major part in Pakistan. We don't have libraries because with libraries people can borrow books, and that's a proper way to read books without having to pay a lot of money or anything like that. So I think that's very important. Our government needs to invest in libraries and everything. But I mean, that's just like beating your head against the wall when you're uh, talking about government, isn't it? So yeah, but that's the thing. But thank you very much for buying my the original copies of my book, and that's why we'll see, because now with the dollar and pound, they're through the roof. So the foreign editions of books are very expensive in Pakistan, easily for 4,000 these days. I bought a book the other day. I wanted to buy 3 books actually, but when I calculated the bill, it was like 9-10,000. I think 11,000. I was like, 11,000 for 3 books. How can I justify that? So I put 2 back and then I bought 1 book out of the 3. So that's the thing. Books have become very expensive, and hopefully we will figure out a way to make sure that my new one isn't very expensive. So I'm trying to figure something out.
It's gonna be an amazing book, I'm pretty sure, and I'm gonna buy it as soon as it comes.
Thank
So
you, thank you.
since we don't have enough time, I've already taken up enough
No,
of your
no,
time.
not at
So
all.
what is one single advice that you would give at younger women who are in their teenagers or they are going towards their practical life? What is one single advice that you think is a golden advice for them?
My advice, I mean, my advice wouldn't just be for women, but for any young person. I think it's financial freedom. It's very important. So if you can, if you're able, then do try to get a certain job, or even get involved in a small business or anything at all that will give you a certain degree of financial freedom, because that will be your that in that way you will be able to make your own decisions, and you'll be able to enforce your own decisions. So that would be my advice. And I also feel that it's very important never to rely on someone. I think you're your own person, and do not rely or depend on anyone, because the moment you do that, you give that person power over you, and that is when things start going off the rails. I feel, I mean, that's my personal belief. So I feel that it's very important for us to be our own person. And like I said, my advice isn't just for young women, it's for everyone: young men, older women, people my age, I mean, anyone. And yeah, just do. And also that, to have fun while you're living life, because life is so short. And just the other day I was thinking that time really really flies, and it's very important to do things that you want to do, and keep doing things that make you happy. And in Pakistan, that's the problem: we don't get to do these things because of all the societal pressure. What will log kya kahenge, this and that. So we're not allowed to, do stuff that we want to. It doesn't have to be bad stuff. For example, I don't mean anything illegal. I mean something as simple as going to watch a movie in a cinema. Even us pe bhi, matlab, if you've gone, if there's a certain weekend that you've gone and seen a movie, अब नेक्स्ट वीकेंड फिर दिल करा मूवी देखने का, लेकिन फिर बंदा सोचता है वो हो अभी क्या, वो अम्मी अब्बू क्या कहेंगे, फिर मूवी देखने चले गए हैं. So all of that, these are simple pleasures in life. उस पे भी we feel so guilty about these simple pleasures in life. So I think we should learn to have a little fun in life as well. So yeah.
So, as I get your advice, it's actually a really insightful one. But you do realize that there are a lot of people, young people, and especially women in areas where they are not allowed to do so. So, what can we do to make their condition better, where they are suppressed and they're not even allowed to go study? So, how would they go out for a job or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think then, there is no. I don't think there's any easy answer to this. The only thing that can change people's minds is education. I think at the end of the day. So I think the more we will educate, not just, it's not about those women who need education. Yes, every woman needs education, but it's also those men who have that control over women. They need to be educated. That, the people that you think you're controlling, they're not under your control. You're just responsible for yourself. You're not responsible for anyone else, and you cannot enforce your own opinions and decisions on someone just because they happen to be your daughter or your wife or anything like that. I mean, everyone should have the independence and should have the ability to do whatever they want. So I think education is the key here. And also I think media can play a part, social media even. TikTok where we see all these बकवास चीजें लोग कर रहे होते हैं. I mean, why not use it for something like that? आप उसी पे लोगों को, and I mean, it goes without saying कि हमारी पूरी दुनिया, पूरा पाकिस्तान TikTok use कर रहा है. I mean, I'm sure in the smaller cities maybe everyone is using TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I mean, just even the government can do that. Release educational videos which promote these kind of things. Just which promote giving independence to women and all of that. And so slowly you will change people's minds. It'll be a gradual process. It won't happen overnight, but you can actually sow the seeds instead of spreading videos like Biperjoy cyclones, mass panic and all of that. You use your influence for something good. So yeah, so that would.
On to the conclusion of the interview. Just one last question for you. What gives you hope? What is one thing that gives you hope for the future of women empowerment in our country?
The one thing that gives me hope is that I see that more and more people are now educated, and more people are now using their constitutional rights as Pakistanis to speak up about things, and to speak up about women empowerment, which is so important. And I feel that and the best thing that the one thing that does give me, another thing that gives me hope, is that I've seen a lot of men supporting women as well, which is such a nice thing to see. And I think that this what you probably this collaboration maybe can help us get some results and finally get us some equality in Pakistan. And yeah, education I think is the best hope any one of us can have. Any of us. I mean, that's the best hope for any of us. So yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. It was really
no,
insightful from hearing all of these things from you.
it was my pleasure, Aiza, and thank you so much for having me here. And it's always so nice to talk about books and these things. And I'm very glad that you're doing such amazing work to promote that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love it.
Okay.